Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. That's Eduardo Sajalik. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. Thanks so much for joining us. We're covering Standard. We're down the stretch on day number 1. Down in the feature match area, we've got Ari Lax sitting across from Yuuya Watanabe. Let's not waste any time. Let's head on down. It's time for round number 7 here from Atlanta. Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Eduardo Sajgalik, and we are all set for round 7 action. We're down in the feature match area. We have 2 players sitting at 5-1 from the United States. Ari Lax. He is playing for Team RIW Hobbies, and he's got Celestia tokens. And I'll tell you what here, Eduardo, I got a chance to see this deck in action, and it looks very, very powerful if left unchecked. Sitting across from him, Yuuya Watanabe from Japan. He's on Team Musashi, and he's playing a much different... Talk about going tall versus going wide. He's on Is It Drakes. What do you make of the matchup, Eduardo?
It tends to be a little closer than the other white deck that splashes red for heroic reinforcements. Essentially, Ari's trying to build a board, but doesn't have that much reach. So at that point, the Is It Drakes deck can take the advantage here. Something like maximize velocity with a Drake is something that the tokens deck can almost not interact with at all, especially in game 1. So that combo potential, the fact, like Goblin Electromancer easily surviving here, without the additional pressure, that could be a real problem for Ari here.
Do you count March of the Multitudes as reach?
Well, it does deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, is that enough to get by a couple of, 12-4 Drakes or whatever it is?
Post-board it might, but when you start off with, like, here, Yuuya on the play, that March is going to take some time to, take over, and we're not going to get there, I think. Yuuya's going to try to turbo through these spells as fast as possible. March might make 4 or 5 tokens, and then... Really, if you want to see Ari win here, it's a March followed by a Flourish. It's both of these cards. I think a March on its own wouldn't be enough, but with a Flourish finish, that would do it.
You'll need the 1-2 punch. He's got, well, a rather pedestrian start so far. He's got Thorn Lieutenant on the battlefield. He is facing down now 2 copies of Goblin Electromancer. But as you mentioned, Yuuya kind of going through the library here, already off to the races. There's another Thorn Lieutenant, and then a tap land here for Lax before passing the turn back to Yuuya.
Yeah, and here that you see no attack. Ari has very little incentive to attack. The second Electromancer has almost no value. So at that point, you're just trading a Foreign Lieutenant for a Goblin Electromancer. And, well, I still have 1 from Yuuya's side, so that's good. And from Ari's side, it's like 1 less creature for Convoke spells. So Ari, and for Flourish. So correctly, Ari here not attacking in this spot.
So Ari Lax incentivized to keep as many creatures on his side of the battlefield as possible to leverage some of his late game plays. We mentioned March of the Multitudes, and you saw that on your screen, and there it is there as well, in hand for Ari Lax. What else is he working with? Imara, Soul of the Accord, a pair of Venerated Loxodon. Perhaps a little fair here, but we could see something like March into Venerated Loxodon. That's powerful stuff.
It can be quite powerful, but it takes time. And normally Ari wouldn't have too much time, except it seems like Yuuya cannot find a Drake, although... Yeah, so, okay, keeping the card, Arclight Phoenix. Yuuya here has to start dealing damage. But with Radical Idea, discarding that Arclight Phoenix...
Needs a blue source, which he has. Steam Vents untapped, which he can use to jumpstart. Radical Idea, that will put Arclight Phoenix in the graveyard and send it right back onto the battlefield here. Ba-boing, and in it comes. So the damage is going to start flowing now from Yuuya Watanabe's side.
Exactly. So here, that free damage is going to add up. There's probably 2 or 3 good attacks left in this Arclight Phoenix. Yuuya really looking here to get either Enigma Drake or Crackling Drake into play to have a big combo turn. Ari here, though, the big plays.
Wow, look at this. Venerated Loxodon. He also is going to get a lifelink token, a soldier here off of Imara. So, boom. He adds 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 power to the board with just this 1 card, and he only had to tap 2 lands for it.
Yeah, and with Yuuya having Ari having a Conclave Tribunal in hand, that's a very clean answer to a Drake. So this is gonna be quite close. I think Ari I would like to say Ari has an advantage here, but it's still very tight. Yuuya could easily. There's 2 Charter Course there. It just depends on how this turn from Yuuya goes, really.
You can get through a lot of cards with those 2 cards.
Yeah, I think here it depends what happens. Just a Drake would be troublesome because, again, of that Conclave Tribunal. Ari could force quite a difficult board state for Yuuya to beat. But if Yuuya gets an Arclight Phoenix out of one of these charts, that might be good.
Okay, well, he starts off with Discovery. Now he's going to play Chart a Course. He's doing it pre-combat so that he has the ability to discard an Arclight Phoenix if he finds it.
Yeah, and normally you'll see something like an op before Charter Course, but Yuuya wanted to make sure to keep at least free mana up in case an Enigma Drake was drawn. But now Yuuya is going to just keep turning through the deck. Probably we're going to see opt now and then chart after that to maximize the chance of getting an Arclight Phoenix this turn. And that's why you see that sequence of chart, opt, chart. Is Yuuya first trying to maximize the chances of a Drake and then trying to maximize the chances of a Phoenix. But that it looks like a shock in hand for Yuuya. Not exactly the card you want against that board.
But he's got another chart to try to find a Phoenix here. He did not do it. So even with seeing, I mean, he cast 4 2-mana spells for 1 mana each. Didn't really hit anything super relevant here, did he? I mean, he's built up his graveyard plenty.
Yeah, that was a lot. Unfortunately, that was a lot of lands. So now Yuuya in quite a difficult position. The Radical Idea will cycle for a card, but that's about as far as that card will go. So probably Yuuya is maybe going to just keep red mana up to shock a Fret. It might be that lifelink creature. Okay, so this is a really complicated combat to calculate. Yuuya may also go, you know what? Pass. Because that Arclight Phoenix is a very good blocker, and Yuuya has access to Radical Idea, which is easily 2 spells to get back that Arclight Phoenix down the line. Access to Shock in response to Conclave Tribunal, but that might be too much damage and maybe too cute at this point. So really, Yuuya's in a relatively rough spot here because this turn didn't yield anything, and both decks were kind of... game 1, this happens a lot. Both decks are just trying to do their thing because one flies over and the other one's trying to build the ground. But here, with Yuuya's turn being a little empty, Ari's going to be... now I'm pretty confident Ari is advantaged after that turn.
All you had to do is look at the advantage bar and you could see that.
Right. Foreshadowing, I guess.
I hit that, but yeah.
Right. I feel like here it was really Yuuya going through a lot of cards and not finding one of the Drakes, and those are really the key card. Now, Yuuya doesn't need just Drake. I think just the Drake wouldn't be enough, so really it's going to be Drake plus maximized velocity, and even that may not be good enough. Although with 2 shocks, there is a chance. Here we might see, yes, okay, I see what the line Yuuya is taking is. Hoping to draw into Drake plus maximize velocity, which is very unlikely. But if Yuuya does that, then Yuuya can essentially go Drake, maximize, shock, and that would be lethal damage.
Not much to do for Ari on his side of the battlefield, but think about what it is to do now. He's drawing his card, looking at it, and he's trying to do some math, right? This is a touchy situation. He knows that he could die out of nowhere against Yuuya and his Drake's deck, and he needs to also find out what he wants to do to his board state because his hand right now is quite strong. He's got History of Benalia, another Venerated Loxodon, March of the Multitudes, and you mentioned it last turn, the Conclave Tribunal, if you'd like to use it as a removal spell on a Phoenix or a blocker here.
Yeah. Ari here is just going to try to put the most pressure possible on Yuuya. So I think Ari's board is good enough to kill Yuuya in 2 turns. It's very close. It might be free. And Ari is going to make sure that that clock is 2 turns. But with this board state, it might just end up being 2 turns. But if you want a 2-turn clock, you can't really play Conclave Tribunal this turn. I think what we're going to see, but it's very close, is an attack with the board here. Yuuya probably going to block a Foreign Lieutenant with both Electromancers. The damage coming through, and then Ari with the... or the Amara, that might also get blocked. And then Ari with the 2 soldier tokens will power out a Venerated Loxodon. It's possible that there's one less attacker to see something like History Loxodon.
Okay, well, we're going to see Conclave Tribunal here from Lax, and he's going to use it on one of these Electromancers to clear away a very big attack here. 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage, plus he gets a free lifelink soldier from Amara.
Yeah, and this is Ari's way of putting a 2-turn clock. Yuuya obviously going to draw a card first to get information, but I think Yuuya is forced to take the damage here. That Goblin Electromancer is going to be critical to make these spells work, since at 2 mana a spell, Yuuya's not going to get there. And now Yuuya is going to need, let's see, with Ari at 14, a bunch of Phoenixes might, I mean, it would take an incredible draw. If Yuuya drew like the other free Phoenixes, that would be good, but I think it's really Drake plus Maximize Velocity here.
Okay, yeah, the spells in Graveyard says 7. It's actually up to 8 now, thanks to that radical idea. But Ari Lax, at the end of it, decided, you know what, I've got all these powerful ways to pump my creatures, but I don't need to. I just need to attack you twice. There's not a lot of defense on the other side from Watanabe. So Ari cranks it up to maximum pressure, not trying to set up a big turn next time or anything like that. And he just says, all right, kill me, Yuuya. Do your worst. I've got 2 lifelinkers on the ground. I got nothing for this Phoenix and nothing for any potential Drakes that you might come up with haste.
Yeah, and here with this discovery, we might... I mean, one alternative line for Yuuya is essentially to get a bunch of Phoenixes and be on blocking duty.
Oof.
But yeah, when you... I mean, this discovery with a Maximized Velocity plus an Enigma Drake would have been good enough, but obviously that's a very unlikely line. I mean, considering how this has started, Ari is pretty far ahead for me.
Finally found a Drake.
Yeah, but without that maximized velocity,
Yeah.
Maximized velocity would have been lethal. But Yuuya, unfortunately, decided to play a little more of an Electromancer version here, and not having the highest chances of drawing a velocity here is going to be pretty key.
Yeah, he only has 1 in his deck.
Yeah, and now let's see, with what Yuuya having Charter Course and Radical Idea, that could get you a maximum of 2 Phoenixes plus 2 Shocks. Even if Yuuya was extremely lucky, 1 short. One alternative line, I guess, is if you are trying to get lucky on Phoenixes. How many? Okay, so the 2 soldiers can come through. That's not a problem. But then you have to block at least all the other creatures, so you need 4 blockers. And Drake is not going to be enough, so yeah, you really need 2 more Phoenixes. That's the line, in my view. You could also double shock, I guess. So, if I'm trying to remember if you have played a land this turn, but I believe this mountain is new to the board. So Enigma Drake plus 2 shock isn't going to do it. So it's really something like Phoenix plus 2 shocks would do it. So yeah.
And you see that look from Yuuya Watanabe, just kind of, well, here's an Enigma Drake. Your move, Ari. Down to 5 life, facing huge amount of power now. This is the name of the game from Ari Lax's perspective. Make a lot of creatures and make them big. And he's done exactly that. All it's taken was the 1 Venerated Loxodon pumping up, you know, what ultimately are some pretty pedestrian creatures, at least by standard standards. Yes,
I really like this line actually by Yuuya. Deciding to shock the token, going to 1, and giving himself the best chance to win. This, with the lifelink, this is actually quite close. I think Yuuya's found potentially the winning line here.
Really?
Yeah. The Arclight Phoenix, the Electromancer's gone, but this Enigma Drake is so large. With Ari last turn deciding to play that Conclave Tribunal, one of the few answers in the deck to an Arclight Phoenix, Ari's left the shields down, and that might mean that Yuuya takes over this match. Game. Matches later.
I mean, this is all this type of deck needs, right? Enigma Drake is massive, 12 power, and you can see Ari counting.
I think Yuuya found the winning line.
Did he really?
Yeah, just found the line.
This is 13.
But there's a Phoenix in the graveyard.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, unless looking at Ari's hand, there's not really anything that can be done. There's a Radical Idea in the graveyard.
Also a shock in hand for Watanabe.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be it. Yeah. Holy smokes, what a line from Yuuya here.
Wow.
I mean, I was trying to figure out the blockers earlier, but yeah, shock on the soldier was just enough life to survive and have this Enigma Drake kill Ari in a single attack with the help of trusty buddy Arclight Phoenix. This is the third match in a row I see someone at 1 life and
just like, no problem. I've got 1 creature. What else do I need?
And that's one of the biggest drawbacks to playing kind of these creature decks without reach is your opponent knows that you can't deal that last point of damage.
And
so
that's going to do it.
Yeah.
Shock to put Ari to 13. And even then, the Drake was up to 15. Ari scoops him up. And Yuuya Watanabe, with a big smile on his face, says, no problem, man. I mean, I was only facing down like 20 power. It's not that much. Got the job done. And killed Ari Lax with a massive.
That was a 1-turn kill. Demonstrate
power.
because the shock was 2. The Drake would have been 15 plus the Phoenix. So Ari at 20 would have died.
Wow. Super incredible from the Drake's deck. But this is the name of the game for that type of deck. Couldn't get the job done for Ari Lax, the green-white tokens deck. But players are going to be consulting sideboards and adjusting their game plans accordingly. We'll have a lot more from that match and the other ones in our feature match area when we come back right after these messages.
Looking for a challenge? Magic Online offers monthly limited and constructed events, which lead to the yearly Magic Online Championship. Download Magic Online at mtgo.com and start earning the points you need to enter.
And welcome back to the feature match area here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm with Eduardo Sajgalik. Thanks so much for joining us here in Atlanta. We're here for the Pro Tour. We did our Player of the Year playoff last night, so got started a little early on a Thursday. Congratulations once again to your Player of the Year, Luis Salvato. And here, well, we're back to business with the Pro Tour. We're quite a bit of the way through day 1 already. We're in round number 7. That means there's only 1 round left after this, and we're playing standard. We just watched Ari Lax face off against Yuuya Watanabe. In their game number 1, Celestia Tokens, a little bit of a slow start by that deck standards, but then hit the mid-range hard, put maximum pressure on Yuuya, in fact dropping him down to 1 life. But is it Drake's in the hands of Yuuya Watanabe able to deal? Well, it was actually 20 damage, Eduardo, on that last turn, if he wanted it.
Right. Ari was a less, but Shock, Drake at 15, Arclight Phoenix, 20 damage. And I think that's the power of the Is It's Drake deck. I mean, I had a lot of fun playing at Grand Prix New Jersey, and there was a lot of that. Just, you know, the game goes on, and then you just play a 15-power flying creature. That's a lot of my matches were won that way. It feels even.
For 3, by the way.
Right. 3 mana, 15 power. Right. And you just play that game, right? You're like, okay, everything's kind of equal. Oh, I just top decked the 15-power flyer. As the game goes on, your 3 and 4 drops don't get worse. They get better, which is amazing.
Looking at the rest of the feature match area, by the way, Well, it looks like the right-hand side of the table is lucky this round for some reason. Yuuya Watanabe up a game. Mark Jacobson up a game over Jeremy Dezani. By the way, those players are both sitting at a cool 6-0. They're the only undefeateds in the feature match here. Our main matches are both at 5-1. Sitting at 4-2, Pascal Viren. He's up a game over Pyotr Guglowski. And on our back table, we've got Paul Rietzel playing... That doesn't look right. Golgari mid-range.
Something went wrong.
Somebody talked him into playing the mid-range deck when there's a very good mono-white deck out there, which is kind of his.
His opponent, Marshall Carvalho, playing Sacred Foundry, representing the good.
That's right.
And reminding Paul of his fallen ways.
And he's playing Boros Aggro. But I will say, Paul's up a game. So maybe he did choose correctly, at least for that matchup. And it looks like we're taking a look at our opening hands here back on our main table. There's Yuuya, calm, cool, and collected as always. What, you only got me to 1. As they say in the business, Eduardo, 1 is not 0.
1 is infinitely more than 0.
Indeed.
Can't divide by 0, right?
I have never tried.
It goes wrong. It goes very, very wrong.
Do it then. I'm just going to trust you on this one. And we're going to see Legions landing now. From Ari. But before he can even get the wrong token into play, it gets shocked right off the battlefield.
I like that Yuuya's trying to keep the feature match clean. That's very, very,
that. Do you think if it was a vampire, he would have said, sure, you can have that?
Probably would have killed it anyway.
Okay. So Yuuya is still strategic in nature here. He's going to play full price for Discovery this time.
By the way, Yuuya with Disdainful Stroke in hand, a card that seems maybe a bit strange against one of these white aggro decks, but the combination of Conclave Tribunal, March of the Multitude, Strashani Discordant, there's plenty of targets, Flourish, there's plenty of targets for that card. It tends to be actually pretty relevant against these green-white, these Selesnya token decks that really want to play one of these payoffs. So cutting the payoff is usually quite a strong move.
Interesting here from Yuuya. He's actually going to play his Steam Vents untapped. That's going to cost him 2 life. He's going to play a shock to kill
Rich
the
and
Knight
Maria.
Token. Yeah, and interestingly, look at this. He's left up 2 mana. What is he representing here? Well, nothing that's going to deal with the Thorn Lieutenant, so it's land go after that for Lax, and we see Opt.
I think here Yuuya had Disdainful Stroke for a potential Venerated Loxodon, wanted to make sure that it didn't come into play. And with all these spells, it made sense. Yuuya still had options, even if there wasn't a Loxodon. And now gets to untap and slam down a good old Crackling Drake.
Okay, yeah, this looks pretty good for Yuuya, though. I will say he has been using a lot of his mana, or a lot of his shocks here to take out, for example, a 2-for-1 from History of Benalia. You do what you got to do, but, you know, that is a way to fall behind on cards.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. But at least these cards are trading for extra power on the Drake. And yeah, you can see here why Disdainful Stroke would have been a card against Venerated Loxodon. But let's get our 6-power flyer untapped and ready to roll. And Yuuya with Arclight Phoenix, I mean, most of the time you want to cast spells for it, but this may be one of the sweet, sweet Super Sky Knight Legionnaire times.
Just play it.
Play it and jam. Nope.
No, he wants to get his value. So he's going to attack for 5 here with his Crackling Drake. And it looks like Yuuya is actually just going to go ahead and leave up all of his mana outside of the tap Steam Vents that he played for the turn.
I believe the rationale for Yuuya's play here is, I have this Drake. It survived. I just want to make sure it doesn't disappear. So I'm going to keep up this Disdainful Stroke to make sure that nothing too horrible happens on the other side, because I know I can win the race. I can take the 7 damage 3 times and counter something. But Ari here, just with a Thorn Lieutenant.
Well, it's very fair draws from Lax this time. You know, not a lot of convoking out nonsense. And you can see the power to Yuuya Watanabe deciding to just pick off those knights one at a time with a shock apiece. Sure, he went down a card, but he got it back off the Drake. And now look at this. He's just slamming in the air. And that's going to be game. Disdainful Stroke on Tristani says, you got nothing that can deal with this Air Force, Ari Lax. And that's it. Yuuya Watanabe picks up the match 2-0. The first one, very close. That one, not so much.
Right. Yuuya understanding what the position was, understanding that he could race with the shocks to deal with the early board. And that's why you saw, like, maybe not so fast to start. There was no need. With 2 Disdainful Strokes in hand, you can deal with any problem. You know you're winning the race. No need to go too fast.
It was really impressive from Yuuya. Really understanding the matchup as well. You know, Conclave Tribunal is the cleanest way for Ari Lax to get rid of a card like his Drake. Ooh, look at this board state here, Eduardo. You're going to have to start plowing through this one. Jeremy Dezani on the left-hand side is playing against Mark Jacobson, who's up a game, but boy, he's down to 3 life here.
Yeah, hostage taker, a key 4 of Mark Jacobson's deck, essentially trying to take. This is I mean, this deck list I would definitely keep my eye out on. The Doom Whisperer Thief of Sanity deck.
This is just a straight Dimir control deck, is that right?
Yep, straight Dimir. We even got a good old Dimir Guildgate.
Ooh, wow, I like that.
Yeah, we even have a sweet tech against Carnage Tyrant.
You know you're dedicated when you got the Dimir Guildgate in there.
Yeah, it's to make sure that that detection tower can also be in.
This is interesting position, though, because there's 2 Legion Warboss on the other side of the battlefield facing down Mark Jacobson. And, boy, that card seems like it would be very annoying if I'm trying to be the control deck. The real thing that's kind of holding everything together, the Doom Baby, Doom Whisperer, 6/6 flyer right on the middle of the battlefield there that is making it so that none of Jeremy Dezani's creatures can attack and get through that card currently.
Jeremy here is in a really interesting spot. If the goblins get put into play, that's 6 attackers, and at least, and this is lethal damage if Mark has nothing. So Jeremy was just trying to consider what happens if Mark has something. Do I go for it anyways? But this attack is for lethal damage. I think Jeremy's taking it down right here and now.
Yeah, because if you look, Mark Jacobson, I believe he just has 1 card in his hand here. And if it's nothing, then it's game over. Jeremy probably trying to decide, is this just an abject disaster if Mark has a removal spell at instant speed? And I think he's decided either no or
Yeah.
and then they go.
As long as Jeremy puts the mentor counters on the goblins, this is lethal. A 1/1 and a 2/2 go through, 6 attackers against 4, and that's going to be exactly lethal damage. Jeremy deciding to do the attack, and we're going to the next game.
Right, so that Sky Marcher Aspirant back to Jeremy Dezani, as that thing was taken with a hostage taker, but that is game number 2, going to Dezani. So back to the sideboards, those 2 players will go. And we'll take a look perhaps at our back table. Our back table, by the way, is Marcio Carvalho on Boros aggro against Paul Rietzel on Golgari mid-range. And as we come into this one, here it is. Paul is up a game. Oof. Looks like he's getting beaten down, although perhaps on the comeback here, Eduardo. Take a look at the board state for Paul there.
Yeah, and we've already seen this a lot. The kind of aggressive player against the Golgari deck, putting them at a lowish life total, and then the Golgari deck just taking over. Rekindling Phoenix is one of the best threats available to Marcio, but Doom Whisperer, no problem. I can take the Phoenix on.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I've seen Doom Whisperer on the battlefield, it's just been a very good blocker. I haven't seen it turn sideways a whole lot. I have not seen it be activated a whole lot.
I've seen it turn sideways, but that was because I was playing limited and my opponent was having a lot of fun.
I meant today.
Oh, sure. Right, but here, I think Paul may actually be ahead in this game.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that, doesn't it?
If the Vivian Reed is going away... Okay, there was an excellent binding on Wild Growth Walker. Obviously, we just live looking, so we're trying to parse a lot of information.
Right.
And Paul deciding, you know what? I don't want to get burned out. I'm just going to get this Wild Growth Walker back and start gaining life.
Yeah, I go up to 8 again. Wild Growth Walker really doing a good job. So that was the Explorer there. It looks like he found another Merfolk Branchwalker underneath that, so locks in another Explorer for next turn to further buffer his life total, develop his board, grow the Wild Growth Walker, etc. So nice.
Yeah, and looking at Rietzel's hand, many 4-mana options. Golgari Findbroker getting back Vivian Reed seems pretty strong. Allows Vivian to take down that Excellence Binding and then try to take over. So there is a big attack, but wow, Marcio has a Fight with Fire in hand. So Paul isn't out of the woods. Paul really needs... This Wild Growth Walker is key to get Paul out of Fight with Fire with kicker range, because Marcio is not going to be able to really put in pressure. Here, Marcio could attack with the Phoenix and the 2 Knights, and then it's just block the 3/2 onto a Knight, block the other... Actually, I wouldn't even... You could block with a Findbroker, and then when you do play Find, getting back the Find Broker or the Chupacabra, and that's still good. And then the Phoenix gets blocked, so there's no good attack for Marcio. I mean, the last alternative is to attack with a Phoenix, know that it gets blocked by the Doom Whisperer, and then fight with fire the Doom Whisperer. But I don't think that's a winning line. So most likely here we're going to see Marcio just pass, which obviously looks not so great. But Paul is going to read something into that. Although with a Lava Coil, Marcio deciding I need Paul to stay down to 8 life because that fight with fire is my highest chance. It's not that easy for Paul to deal damage here. So when Paul untaps, we might see a Find Finality on the Golgari Find Broker, dealing 4 damage and trying to finish this game off. If it wasn't for that Phoenix egg's so important.
Really annoying, yeah. Just kind of holding off the game plan for Rietzel, though that being said, that Phoenix has not attacked a single time, and Paul, not currently under any pressure from it, so it could be worse.
Right, the Phoenix, but the fact that a Phoenix makes combat a nightmare is actually a problem for Paul. I kind of like this attack from Paul.
Going to lose the creatures anyway.
Yeah.
Little greed check there as well. If Marcio goes, hey, I've got a Phoenix, I'll block.
It's a little more here to make sure that there's less creatures on Marcio's side in case of a card Paul may not have thought of here. Vivian gaining the advantage. But yeah, at this point, the only draw that Marcio really wants, lands. Which seems weird, right? You're an aggro deck and all you want is lands, but that's the situation we're in. Paul can't really attack just because of that Rekindling Phoenix. So yeah, Marcio drew a Clifftop Retreat. That's one top deck away from taking down this game and forcing a game free. Marcio just needs to top deck a land. And Rietzel knows that, at 8 life, Rietzel is aware of the danger.
Right, that is the one card that he's really going to be thinking about here.
But yeah, here the pressure is going to start. Chupacabra killing the egg. Big attack here. Taking Marcio down from 26.
6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage. It's a 2-turn clock, except for that there's a blocker on the other side. But it will still be a 2-turn clock, right? Because of the added... almost. Yeah,
it's 11 damage. Yeah, 15. So you got 13. No, bolted on. Marcio needs to top deck a land to take this one down.
Gotta have a land right now, and it's got to be untapped, and it's a Healer's Hawk.
That dies to Vivian Reed. The archery skills of Vivian Reed are going to take this one down for Paul Rietzel.
Oh, man, there's a big mural of Vivian Reed and her bow and arrow in the feature match area right now, and it looks like it's going to aim right at that Healer's Hawk.
Yeah. The biggest letdown. I want to land and I draw this Healer's Hawk.
Boy. And that's going to do it. Paul Rietzel takes the match. He looks again. How many more? Oh, no. It was at least 4 cards, and Marcio says, I could have had you with a land. But it was 4 or 5 cards deep at the minimum. So,
yeah. I did like how close that game ended up being, though. Really, Marcio only needed a land. Paul, though, identifying that pressure had to be put on and put in maximum pressure. 26-0 in 2 turns. I think really heads-up play, though. I think they're from both players, to be honest. I think Marcio gave himself the best odds possible, not trying to get Phoenix into Doom Whisperer, understanding that Paul staying at 8 life was the most critical aspect of the game, and deciding to Lava Coil the Walgorf Walker.
Okay, it looks like we're underway with our last match still going in the feature match area. This is Mark Jacobson versus Jeremy Dezani. 1 game apiece. They're currently tied. And the matchup here, well, 2 far ends of the standard spectrum. Boros aggro versus Dimir control. So low to the ground, quick, get you dead on the left-hand side. And on the other side of the battlefield, Mark Jacobs says, why don't we just chill out? Let's just take it slow. We'll both get 12 lands on the battlefield. It'll work out fine.
By the way, Fungal Infection, that's a piece of technology. Really good against these white decks. Often a 2-for-1 for a single black mana. And when you're playing these kind of straight-up 2-color decks that are not Golgari mid-range, you often need more options, so it gets into trouble. But this is kind of strange. There should be a sapling. There we go. Yeah, and the Legion Warboss surviving the combat. So Jeremy's trying to consider what may be going on here, since Mark would have easily killed this Warboss given the opportunity. So I would basically put Mark on just not having removal or a hard counter here.
How about lands?
Well,
3 lands for Jacobson. He says go.
That's a land here would be big. The deck with Vraska's Contempt and 4 Hostage Shaker definitely wants to hit his 4th land drop. Looking at the number of lands in Mark's deck, you were looking at 25 lands, which makes sense. It's not quite the Jeskai control deck with Expansion Explosion, so 25 lands the right amount for a deck that wants to get to 4 mana essentially. But yeah, here Mark Jacobs.
Mark has a second copy of Fungal Infection in his hand here.
Right, and with a negate as well.
He's going to play that right now.
Yeah, you can't have that land flip. That Legion's landing, transforming would have been a big problem. Not just this gets rid of the 1/1 and a really key problem.
It's crazy how much you can get out of how quickly the players act also.
Look at how, wow.
Adanto Vanguard here.
So now this is a really hard choice for Jacobson.
Does that Vanguard could be a problem too, or?
No, look at this play. Yes, the Fungal Invention could either take care of the Vanguard or the Legion War Boss plus its Mentor trigger, and Mark Jacobson basically went, look, this Adanto Vanguard's going to be a problem, but this War Boss is worse for me, so I have to take that down. Hope to draw a land for Vraska's Contempt or Hostage
Which he did.
Trigger.
Boom! Hits it off the top, and it looks like he's content to use Contempt here. He's got back-to-back Vraska's Contempt, and then he has Wow, his hand is insane.
Yeah, and
look at this.
Another Legion War Boss, and you can see the value that card has in these control matchups. Mark Jacobson deciding to take out the Legion War Boss rather than the Adanto Vanguard. But, again, with another Contempt, a Hostage Shaker, that War Boss would have been incidental advantage over and over. So I kind of like Jacobson's take here.
He's going to do the same thing again, this time tap land, go. And he's going to hope for once that Jeremy just says go to combat so he can use this Vraska's Contempt on the Adanto Vanguard, get it out of there, and only take 2 damage. But up until now, Jeremy's played, and this is the nightmare scenario here for Jacobson. It is Experimental Frenzy. Okay, fine, he gets to play his Doom Whisperer here, but that Frenzy is absurd in this type of deck.
Right, but with Doom Whisperer, the clock is fast, so Jeremy really needs to draw the right cards right now.
How about anything? Here he goes. Land. 1 drop.
Well, you can't cast spells from hand.
Yeah.
I like how
you can have a 1 drop on top. There it is. Legion's Landing.
And that's a key 1 drop, except that Knight just came into play, so Jeremy can't attack with 2 creatures this turn. We'll have to wait a turn.
And a land. Look at this. This card is so crazy.
I mean, it is a frenzy, right?
It is a frenzy, yes, frenzy.
But with 2 attackers here, I don't think that dealing 1 damage by sacrificing a goblin is the way to go. So, yeah, I think Jeremy indeed... It's very close, though, here still. Jeremy has a slight advantage because of that frenzy, but because Mark Jacobson has access to Hostage Taker, this might actually be still pretty close. Doom Whisperer does kill really fast.
Does he have to race now with the Doom Whisperer? Is that where we're at?
It might be.
Because, look, if you let Jeremy untap with that Experimental Frenzy for, 2 turns more, it's over. Right. He's going to completely flood the board.
Right, so Mark here is probably going to have to go something like Hostage Taker, even taking the Hunted Witness would be quite key here. Taking that 1 drop away from Jeremy. Now, it doesn't look like much, right? You're just taking 1 off the board. But then that is compounding, right? You get to get a 1/1 lifelink when it dies. And you get basically 2 or 3 attack steps that way. Well, Hunted Witness, right? Trades, and then you get 1 more. So you get 2 small blockers. So that gives 2 more tap stacks for this Doom Whisperer to do its thing. And that thing is eating Jeremy alive.
Okay, now this gets interesting here. Thief of Sanity now for Mark Jacobson. But this is a big turn. Let's see if Jeremy can string together kind of one of those classic Experimental Frenzy type lines here where he goes like land, spell, 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 or spell, spell, land, spell, and just dumps a bunch of more creatures on the battlefield. Because every time he gets to do that, things get rougher and rougher from Jacobson's perspective. And look at this.
Heroic Reinforcements.
Boom!
Mark doesn't have a counter for that. That is a lot of damage coming Mark's way. I'm actually going to count this up. I don't think this is lethal. But
I'm going to guess lethal, but I'm going to make you count it because that's what we pay you for.
All right. The 2 knights are 6. So they're away. Then you have 2 more soldiers, which is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, this is lethal.
Oh, I knew it. I said it earlier. Math is for blockers, man. And look at this. A land off the top, but is there more? God, Experimental Frenzy. I've watched this thing in the feature match area. The 2 rounds that we just had when I wasn't in the booth, or the 3 rounds, I was over in the feature match area kind of running it, and I saw this card just do disgusting things. And look at this attack here from Jeremy Dizani. Let's not forget that he gets to transform into Adanto here as well. So he's got an extra game plan in place to put his mana, and that's just a straight-up lethal attack.
Boom.
Boom, baby. Experimental Frenzy into Heroic Reinforcements. Jeremy says, no problem, easy game, and he gets the job done. And you know what that means? Jeremy Dizani is 7-0 here in Atlanta.
That's a good run. Like, I mean, Mark Jacobs still 6-1. If you, I mean, win or lose for Mark, 6-2, 7-1, those are excellent records, but 7-0, that's starting to really get into the stretch for that top 8 contention.
Right, where you're starting to look at, okay, I've got one more round to play today. If I can close out strong and finish 8-0, I mean, you could split your matches tomorrow and still make top 8.
I mean, it's a large field, so very likely 12-3-1, I
Okay.
think, would be the record. But still, like, making that run, you know, like 7-0 at the Pro Tour, that's an incredible record.
Yeah, that is very, very rare that people go that deep into day one. And Jeremy Dizani, already a Pro Tour champion, is one match away from being undefeated here on day one in Atlanta. So really good stuff from the feature match area. This standard format has proven very exciting. Just giving us a lot of kind of thrilling moments here on day one.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about it, but Mark Jacobson was 3-1 with that Dimir control deck. We just saw it. It was a new archetype. I mean, there was some whispers of it, but like, you know, if you were looking for just an alternative to Jeskai, that's one of them, right? Like, it's how to beat the control mirror. It's great to see like this kind of, you know, we see constantly new archetypes in the field. Yep. The metagame breakdown shows you, Golgari, top dog, over a little bit over 20%, but tons of decks after that.
Yeah.
And it's not, and for me, when Golgari's gone, I'm not sure it's necessarily the top deck. It's just a very safe choice that's tunable. So professional players like to play that type of deck. I'm not certain, though, that it's the top deck of the metagame.
Yeah, really interesting, of course, to see the different takes on the standard format, including go tall. We saw Is It Drake's attack for
15 power
or
flyer,
yeah,
15 mana,
15
yeah,
flyer, right,
sure.
for 3, versus like what Ari Lax has brought to the table, where I saw him go end step, March of the Multitudes, and then cast Flourish, and that was in addition to the massive. I mean, he marched for 8. In a prior round, and because he already had 4 or 5 creatures on the battlefield, and then he played Flourish and said attack with all of these.
Yeah.
And that was easy game. All right, that's going to do it for round 7 here from the booth. We're going to have more Magic. One more round to go when we come back after these messages.